You know that quiet sentence that keeps showing up in your mind? The one that whispers, "There has to be more than this," right after another long day you can't remember? That's what this video is about. Your inner call. Not a dramatic destiny, not a perfect life purpose stamped in the sky, but that subtle pull toward a truer version of you. It shows up as restlessness, boredom with things that used to excite you, or a strange grief you can't quite name. You've tried to ignore it. You've told yourself, "I should be grateful. Others have it worse." It's too late to change. Yet the feeling returns, more insistent, more honest. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to help you understand what this inner call really is, how to hear it more clearly, and how to respond without blowing up your life overnight. If some part of you feels quietly unfinished, stay. This might be the conversation you've needed for years. Before we go further, let's get clear on what I mean by inner call. I'm not talking about a mystical voice booming from the clouds or a single dramatic moment that reveals your one true purpose forever. For most people, the inner call is ordinary, persistent, and inconveniently subtle. It's the sense that the life you're living is a few degrees off from the life that would feel deeply honest. Your job might be fine. Your relationship's okay, your day's full, but something in you remains strangely untouched. In this video, we'll unpack three things. First, how the inner call often first appears, as dissatisfaction, longing, or even burnout. Second, how to distinguish it from fear, ego, or escapism. And third, a step-by-step way to begin responding, gently and realistically. This isn't about quitting everything tomorrow. It's about listening more bravely today and learning to trust what you hear, one small decision at a time. Most people don't recognize their inner call at first because it rarely arrives labeled as spiritual awakening or life purpose. It usually shows up as discomfort. Maybe you feel a persistent low-grade sadness on Sunday nights. Maybe you scroll endlessly, not because it's fun, but because stopping would mean facing a hollow feeling. Maybe your successes land flatter than you expected. Promotion, check. Achievement unlocked. And then, nothing. These are signals, not failures. Your nervous system is telling you that the life you've constructed no longer fully fits the person you're becoming, like wearing a shirt that used to be perfect but now pinches at the shoulders. In this segment, pause and scan your own life. Where do you feel strangely out of place? Which parts of your week feel like acting? Where are you chronically tired even when you've technically rested? Those are the first places your inner call is trying to get your attention. If discomfort is the knock at the door, longing is the voice calling your name from the other side. Longing is that ache you feel when you see someone fully alive in their work, their art, their relationships, and some part of you whispers, "I want that." Notice, longing isn't envy. Envy says, "They shouldn't have it." Longing says, "I'm meant for something like that too, in my own way." Your inner call often hides inside the people you're drawn to, the stories that move you to tears, the hobbies you keep researching but never start. The YouTube videos you binge for no reason are rarely random. Ask yourself, when do you feel a spark of real aliveness? Maybe it's when you're explaining an idea, building something with your hands, caring for others, or exploring new places. Your call is less about a specific job title and more about that felt quality of aliveness you keep circling around. One of the biggest confusions around the inner call is mixing it up with fear, ego, or escapism. Not every urge to change jobs, move cities, or end a relationship is sacred wisdom. Sometimes it's avoidance. So how do you tell the difference? Fear usually feels fast, loud, and urgent. Get out, now, run. It hates nuance. Ego feels inflated and performative. Do this so people will finally see how special you are. It's obsessed with image. The inner call, in contrast, is quiet but steady. It doesn't always promise comfort. In fact, it often asks you to face uncomfortable truths. Yet beneath the discomfort, there's a strange sense of rightness, even relief, when you admit what it's asking. Test this. When you imagine following a particular direction, do you feel slightly calmer and more honest, even if scared? Or do you feel manic, desperate, or fake? Your body's response is often more accurate than your thoughts. Now let's talk about timelines. Many people imagine the inner call as a single lightning bolt. One revelation, one leap, and suddenly your life aligns perfectly. That story is seductive and almost always wrong. In real life, inner calls tend to unfold in layers. First, a vague unease. Then, scattered hints. A book you can't stop thinking about. A class that excites you. A conversation that lingers. Eventually, the hints converge into something you can't politely ignore. If you're waiting for complete clarity before you act, you'll likely stay stuck. Clarity is usually something you co-create with action. You take one small, honest step, and the next piece of information appears. So instead of pressuring yourself to figure out your purpose, shift the question. What is the next truest step I can take, given what I know right now? Your inner call grows louder each time you respond, even a little. Hearing your inner call requires signal and space. For most of us, both are buried under noise, notifications, opinions, endless content. So the first practical step isn't dramatic. It's subtractive. Create intentional pockets of quiet. 10 minutes walking without headphones, a phone-free breakfast, an evening where you journal instead of scrolling. In that space, ask gentle questions. Where in my life am I pretending? What have I outgrown? What keeps pulling my attention, even when I push it away? Don't rush to answer. Let the questions work on you. You might start to notice patterns. You always perk up when talking about a certain topic, or your mood drops before a particular weekly meeting. These small data points are breadcrumbs. Remember, you're not trying to manufacture an answer. You're listening for what's already true, beneath the noise. The inner call isn't something you invent. It's something you finally allow yourself to hear. Your inner call might be pointing in many directions at once, which can feel overwhelming. So let's make it concrete. Think in terms of experiments, not life sentences. Instead of, I have to become a therapist, try, I'll volunteer for a few hours a week on a listening hotline. Instead of, I must move abroad forever, try, I'll spend a month in a different city and see how my body feels there. An experiment is small, time-bound, and reversible. It asks, what happens to my energy, my mood, my sense of aliveness when I try this? Then you pay attention. This approach lowers the stakes enough that you can actually move. The inner call doesn't require you to gamble everything on one dramatic turn. It asks you to keep taking the most honest, available step. And then, crucially, to learn from the feedback your life gives you. One of the scariest parts of following your inner call is the social cost. You might fear disappointing family, confusing friends, or stepping outside an identity that's earned you approval. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some relationships are built around who you've been, not who you're becoming. When you grow, those dynamics will be tested. Start with honest communication in low-risk areas. Instead of announcing, I'm changing everything, try sharing process. I've been feeling restless lately and I'm exploring what that means. Watch who responds with curiosity versus defensiveness. You don't owe everyone full access to your inner world. Create a small circle of people, maybe even just one, who can hold space for your unfolding without rushing to fix you. If you don't have that yet, communities online, books, and mentors can serve as temporary scaffolding. Your inner call is ultimately between you and your own integrity. Others can walk with you, but they can't walk it for you. As you move toward your inner call, resistance will show up, guaranteed. Not because you're on the wrong path, but precisely because you're leaving the familiar. Resistance has many costumes. Sudden fatigue when it's time to work on what matters, endless research that replaces doing, dramatic life crises that mysteriously appear whenever you gain momentum. Instead of interpreting resistance as a stop sign, Treat it as a weather report. Ah, I'm entering meaningful territory. Your nervous system is wired to favor the known, even when the known makes you miserable. Practical move. Lower the activation energy. If your call nudges you to write, make the first step opening a document and writing one unedited sentence. If it's connection, send a single vulnerable message. Tiny actions accumulate, and resistance often dissolves once you're in motion. Courage in this context isn't fearlessness. It's feeling the fear, naming it, and still taking the smallest possible honest step forward. Here's a subtle trap, turning your inner call into another productivity project. You start out wanting a truer life and end up with a color-coded purpose tracker that quietly recreates the same pressure you were trying to escape. Remember, the point isn't to optimize yourself into some hyper-efficient machine serving a grand mission. The point is to live in increasing alignment with what feels deeply honest and alive. Build in rhythms of listening, not just doing. Days or hours where the goal isn't progress, but contact. Can I feel myself clearly right now? Practices like mindfulness, prayer, creative play, or simply sitting on a park bench without an agenda can reset your relationship to your call. Paradoxically, when you stop strangling your calling with urgency, it often becomes clearer. Space allows nuance. Your job is less to wrestle your life into shape and more to keep returning, again and again, to what feels quietly true. Sometimes, answering your inner call doesn't mean adding anything. It means letting something die. A career path, an identity, a dream that once fit but now constricts. Grief is part of this process, and if you don't allow it, you may stay stuck in half measures, half in the old life, half in the new, fully alive in neither. Give yourself permission to mourn what might have been. Journal a goodbye letter to the version of you who tried so hard to make that path work. Acknowledge their effort, their loyalty, their fear. When you honor endings, you free up energy for beginnings. The inner call is less about upgrading your life and more about shedding what's no longer you, so that what is you has room to breathe. This isn't failure. It's seasonal. Trees don't apologize for dropping leaves. They understand that letting go is part of making space for what's next. Over time, as you keep listening and responding, your inner call shifts from distant whisper to quiet companionship. It becomes less about one big decision and more about a posture. Living turned toward what feels true. You might notice subtle changes. Your calendar slowly reflects your real priorities. Your conversations deepen. Your creativity returns. Your body feels less clenched. Importantly, your call will keep evolving. What's true for you at 25 will not be identical at 40. That's not inconsistency. That's growth. Your job is not to defend an old calling against new information, but to remain loyal to the deeper thread running underneath. The part of you that keeps seeking honesty, contribution, and aliveness. When life throws you disruptions, a breakup, illness, relocation, your practiced habit of listening becomes a compass you can rely on, even when maps burn. The inner call doesn't promise an easy life. It offers a real one. Let's gather the threads. Your inner call isn't a booming command. It's a persistent, honest pull toward a truer life. It first appears as discomfort and longing, especially in the places you feel most like you're acting. It's different from fear or ego. The call is quiet, steady, and often asks you to face hard truths, yet brings a subtle sense of rightness when you admit them. You don't need a 20-year blueprint. You need the next honest step, approached as an experiment, small, reversible, and instructive. Listening requires creating space, pockets of quiet, moments of reflection, conversations with people who can hold your becoming. You will meet resistance and you will grieve endings. That doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're moving. Above all, this is not about constructing a perfect identity. It's about learning to live turned toward what feels deeply true again and again as you and your life both keep changing. If something in you has been quietly nodding throughout this video, don't let this just be another piece of content you consume and forget. Here's your invitation. Tonight, or as soon as you can, give yourself 10 uninterrupted minutes. No phone, no music. Ask yourself 3 questions. Where am I pretending? What keeps calling to me? What is one small, honest experiment I can commit to this week? Write the answers down. Then put the experiment in your calendar like any other real commitment. If this conversation resonated, subscribe and stay close. This channel is for people who sense there's more to their life than the script they were handed and are willing to explore that gently, thoughtfully, without burning out. Share this video with someone you know is standing at a quiet crossroads. Sometimes we only dare answer our inner call when we realize we're not the only ones hearing it.